Here we go. Let's do this.
We've got one life, one shot. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? Addicted to Betterment, a podcast to inspire us to keep going, to try something new, to dream, to think big, bigger, to overcome. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Hey, it's Nikki back on Addicted to Betterment. And okay, listen, we're going to listen to this episode ourselves, the three of us that are going to share in this conversation today. And we're all three going to get chills when we listen to it. So the chills are loud, the vibrations are high, and it's one of those times that goes right in alignment with all the things we're learning right now. Allow what is loudly calling you, allow it and go with it. So we had this episode guide. We're like on holiday break, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be so on it with all my mentions and tee-ups and tying back to the last episode." Had it all laid out, and then we hopped on here and we were chatting as new, very close friends, and it was like, yeah, episode 2 is moving to episode 3. So today we are ready to really tap into, I want to tell you why I'm wearing this hat, which I thought was going to go with episode 2, but it'll go with every episode we ever do on this show, particularly with Roya. And then we're going to tee up David to share a Facebook or social media post that he dropped today that he was reading to us, and it took us off the rails, which is taking us on the rails for the episode. So my hat. So a dear friend of ours, Desiree Garcia, we call her Des. She has been one of my greatest teachers since my late 20s on my path for understanding myself, understanding life, and has now become David's really dear teacher, and now is working with Roya as well. They are probably kind of peer coaching, because I can only imagine, Des is like, yeah, I'm going to hire Roya. And then Roya's learning things, which you probably do, Roya, from all your clients. But Des created this saying. It's called TSRW. If you're watching the video, you can see my hat. This shit really works. And the whole concept is, when we tap in, when we really understand who we are and we ask for what we want, manifestation or whatever version of whatever you want to call it, this shit really works. And so I wanted to wear the hat because I feel so much in this today. And it's just spot on. So David, we would love, Roya came up with this great idea after she was in tears listening to David's post. So we're going to start off with that. And we don't have any scripture outlines today. And we believe that this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to flow. Just wanted to remind really quick, the series that we are here doing with our friend Roya, friend and coach Roya, is breaking the financial ceiling, rewiring wealth from the inside out. And what we are learning very, very quickly is we're barely talking about wealth, like barely, because it is all this other stuff that we think it's all this, we think things that it's not.
The wealth tunnel is through and through all of you, which is why when we're linear about creating wealth, we continue to hit the same similar barriers. And when you expand to the possibilities of what else could be true on my journey to wealth, all of this opens up so that you can have abundance and enjoyment in everything that that adds up to wealth. Because seriously, if you just have money and you don't have health and you don't have love and you don't have peace in your heart, what is it? It's not wealth. So yeah, thank you. Move it. Take it away.
Man, this is a masterclass in the first 2 minutes. Nikki, thank you for mentioning our amazing friend Des and in that saying. But it's interesting is, this shit really works. Well, what works? It's not, just saying what you want or thinking what you want or working harder or pushing harder. Yes, all those are good. Actions are good, but alignment with the vibrational frequency of love, of all that is good. You think of when Jesus came to planet Earth to teach, he taught love, and to moving forward 2,000 years later, here we are, and in manifestation, this shit really works. It works when you do this. So was inspired this morning, as I get on a lot of mornings, and I'll say this, Nikki. It's so crazy that you teed it off with this hat, because I personally am a fired up person. You know this as well as anyone. I'm passionate about a lot of things. I genuinely love business. I love it. Like, I'm a business junkie. I could sit and watch. That's actually what I do watch. If I'm watching something, I watch business stuff, and I'm obsessed with certain sports. I'm obsessed with my kids. I have my favorite teams. I have my causes that I believe in. And, and I will
You didn't
tell you,
mention me.
you are
I
my
was obsessed with you in the
you
best way.
obsessed is putting it mildly. Thank you for reminding me of that. But you're, God's loudest gift in my life, and I feel like my obsession with you is it's just it's crazy. But the one cause that I finally found that I believe in more than anything, because it works, it's real, it's the most powerful cause I've ever been introduced to, is the force of love, and genuine love, and being in the vibrational energy of love. Not the how we see love, or we think of it in historical, or how our society has painted love, but genuinely showing up with love, not when it's easy, not when it's our favorite person, or not when it's okay, but also when it's hard, even more when it's hard, even more when it's difficult. So I was inspired this morning, and I wrote this message on my social media that said, there is an army rising up. You can feel it, but it's not the kind that your mind jumps to. It's not political. It is not religious. It's not about race. It's not about borders, titles, status, or the number of zeros in your bank account. None of this matters here. None. Zero. Zilch. Zippo. This army is different. It's a collective of people armoring up with the most powerful force on earth, and that is love. And once you notice it, you can't unsee it. These are people who are tired of the noise, tired of the outrage economy, tired of the finger pointing, the division, the constant friction, and they're asking better questions. They're looking deeper. They're choosing a new lens. And that lens is, how can I extend love in this moment? Not because it's easy, and definitely not because it's soft. No, because it's strong. So here is the challenge: that cause you're committed to, that political stance, that belief that you defend so fiercely. Is it helping more people? Is it inspiring compassion to those who are hurting? Is it giving you the strength to lift others up? Be honest, really honest. Because if it's not, there's an army rising up. And me, I'm raising my hand and I'm saying, I'm in. What about you? And I feel so strongly about that.
And David, what is your core question right now that roots everything?
What would love do?
The best core question anyone could ask. If you're in this moment along with me, I'm starting to vibrate it, by the way. And so formulating words is becoming a thing in this particular second, because there is nothing stronger in residential vibration than the heart. And David, you just spoke into the heart. And so when you're talking about this shit really works, manifestation, until you find a place that opens the heart so wide, there are limitations. I remember my very first deep meditation space. It was in December of 2021. And I thought I had such an open heart, because my whole life is about giving love. And I heard the voice of my tiny one, me, at about 2 years old. And she came and she said, open it bigger, wider, in her little innocence. And I looked and I was so confused until I realized that the heart I thought was so open had so much more. And even when we think love is so big inside of us, even me in this moment right now, love is so infinite. And anyone that's ever had a child or a pet, and what you just mentioned in loving business and loving sports and loving your wife, when you ever ask the question, like, do I have more capacity to love the next one just as much? And the answer is love always grows, right? And when I opened that heart and just focused on the heart, I knew that it came when tears came. And I heard this message that I'm going to give to you, and this message replays over and over again. We go deep in the work of self and others, and the message is this, and it's so simple, but I'd love to unpack it with you guys. And it's just all there ever is, all there ever has been, and all there ever will be is love, love, love. All there ever is, all there ever has been, and all there ever will be is love. Everything else is an illusion. And what you wrote for us is showcasing that all the things we get tangled up in is an illusion activating the invitation back to love. So all of this darkness that we have questions about, why is it so dark right now? We come back to what would love do? All there ever is, has been, and will be is love. Everything else is an illusion. It's just an invitation to find what is inviting me in that moment to uncover the love within so that it can spill out.
Yeah, this is it is thick around here right now. We're not even in the same spaces, but I can feel all the thickness in all these rooms these three people of us are in right now. And I'm with you, Roya. My words are not going to be wording as well. But I want to, with the way I like to host the podcast, I never want to assume because of what this podcast is addicted to betterment, people that are Mamba mentality or whatever you want to call it, right? Who knows who's listening right now? And I don't ever want to be like, okay, we're going to go to this site and assume that that's who's here. I want to touch on, first of all, the gift that it would be for someone to be stumbled across this episode right now, listening, that they're like, I don't even know how I got here. And that's okay. That's great. So you're listening. There's someone listening, and I don't want to go too deep on this right here, but I just want to meet a person where they are that might be listening that is like, that is so far from what I am, even where I am, right? They could be operating in anger, shame, revenge, all the things, because I have, I've been there. And it was so hard for me to even grasp this. And so if they're still here listening right now, right, they didn't leave, how do you speak into, for a moment, the person that's on the opposite side?
Ooh, that's a great question. And I love that you opened this, Nikki. I'm feeling compelled to share a very recent incident and an honoring of anger and an honoring of the opposite of love. You said, what is the opposite side of hate, right? I'd like to go back to what we just talked about, because we can shame, like a little rage, anger, resentment, and all of those things have validity. And I will admit that it took me years to actually admit to myself or find that I had even anger inside of me. I had suppressed it so long. It was not an emotion I felt, I guess, unconsciously allowed to have, that it took me time to find it. And anger is a value, it points to injustice. Anger is not a place to live in, however, because it is not actually the truth of what will vibrate change within self and others. So I had a recent incident. It actually happened at Christmas. And it really unfolded after Santa Claus came, and it was deep in the night. And I uncovered something that was very devastating to me, heartbreaking for my child. And I went into rage. I went into anger and injustice for her and for the feeling of what was coming upon our family. And instead of going right into love, I will admit I had to honor the rage first. I had to allow it to dissipate. I had to make noise. I had to shake my body that was holding the container in the cells. I had to honor the need for pointing to injustice first. And then for me, the phase next was to go into a space of surrender to a pause. So the next day, because it had to do with my former husband, and I was in his home, and we had Christmas Day, I decided to compartmentalize it, to give love and joy to the children that day, and to him, and to my father that came over all together. And paused because there's power in the pause, even though that would not have been my natural instinct, but it is now a trained understanding that there is power in the pause. And the next day, had some conversation with family, and then I invited a conversation with him and waited to the point that I could come from a place of love. And I will tell you that the cycle to get to the point of all there is really love could not have come automatically without first dishonoring the other emotion on the other side in a productive way. So the trail for me looked like rage, anger, dissipation, allowing it to fully express itself, then going into the power of pause, then allowing the conversations to go to uncover within where can I find the love within first, and then coming into a conversation with love. Now, in that space, we had a very productive conversation that would not have happened. And there is a place deep in my heart of understanding that never could have occurred if I didn't come through the lens of so much love first. My personal decision in these kinds of confrontations, because I've been really messy. About a year and a half ago, I was really messy in a very emotional conflict. And I decided my baseline for me is I'm going to show up as a high priestess lioness energy. And that has changed the game.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story, particularly because it's very recent, so there's still, even though you used every tool in your toolbox to do it the best you could and to share it right now, it's still gotta be, your feeling in that, right? So thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to stick for a moment in this space of the listener who is trying to understand, with all the crap in the world and all the things that are happening, how in the heck am I supposed to lead from love or live from love or respond from love? And I think, Roya, you just gave an excellent example of being in a situation and you're the one that has worked on yourself. So you're sharing it from, here's what recently happened during the holidays, and you're sharing of this all the things because a year and a half ago you didn't have that, and what you've learned for yourself. And I also, before we move on, and again, I don't want to go too deep here, but I'll allow whatever is what it needs to be. Someone that doesn't even have a role model around them other than anger, hate, physical altercations, blah, 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 right? And yeah, I don't think there's a lot of listeners on this channel that maybe do, but I just think it's important because we've all been there, you know? And I'm probably the most recent on here. Any friend that will listen to this podcast is probably going to chuckle when I say this. And I'm trying not to be this person that we chuckle at because it's funny. I am the I will go to bat for whoever and I will get even and I'm good at it. I'm real good at it. And the things that come out of my mouth, I'm like, wow, like I'm impressed and ashamed of myself, you know? And I'm really trying to break that. And I really am better, I think, now. And David could probably attest a little bit, get better. But on the other side of before I even had the awareness to come from a different place, when the world is so heavy and the leader in your world, whatever that may be, church or government or whatever, is so heavy, it is so hard to want to meet the response with love. And the greatest thing that we can help ourselves understand from what I've learned so far, it's not about them, it's the mirror inside of me. And the things that like I see in them when people trigger us. Years ago, I went through a transformational program that Des referred me to in my 20s. And I was so frustrated with this guy that was leading this activity. And when I was debriefing with her, she said, "Do you know why you're so frustrated? Because that's you." And I was like, "What?" I didn't respond well. And whatever version it is, when we say it's really a mirror inside of us, if we for some reason feel it's okay at this point, and I've been there, to call someone a name, a hurtful name, it's because I am hurting so much inside. And that's hard to realize. It's hard to realize. But that is what it is. That whoever might be listening right now that's just like, I don't even understand, and if you're still here with us, I love it. Because it will be a very powerful teacher to when you can really understand that. And it's a journey. And it's just like, what if you just did one choice today that was a little outside the box? What would love do? And you do that just once.
It's interesting. What you both just described is literally what everyone is dealing with right now. So, whether it's the media, whether it's our political environment, people have worked everyone up into feeling injustice. So whether you're on the right, you feel that there's all this injustice. And a lot of times it's right. And if you're on the left, you see and feel all of this injustice. And so it stirs this what we feel is a righteous anger, or I'm being wronged, or you said something hurtful to me, or you hurt my kid. It's interesting because we're not talking about people just looking to cause harm, or people that are just, yeah, I'm a hateful person. I'm just trying to destroy people. Good people who are trying to do right and they're feeling this sense of anger because you're almost forced to. If you open your social media and you don't feel some kind of reaction, you're almost numb, because it's just you're forced to. And what Roya just described, and Nikki, you did as well, so perfectly is, hey, here's a very practical, better way to show up with love because it's such a broad term, love, love, love. But hey, how can I take what Roya just describes, an intensely personal thing, recognizing it for what it is, recognizing I am feeling angry right now, and rightfully so. I am angry because of these reasons. And then doing that process of am I going to choose to handle this? I want to pull a gun out. I want to grab a knife. I want to do whatever I can do. But right now, how am I going? And that is the power of really embracing what would love handle the situation, not denying, not denying or stuffing or hiding or pretending, feeling, and then choosing to, in this moment, I'm going to extend people love that I don't feel like deserve it. I don't really want to, but I know the power in this is what is going to get the results that I'm trying to get. The power is what can change the needle. And Roya and Nikki, you just described perfectly the most powerful force on earth, the most effective force on earth, the most needle moving, game changing. If you want a great life in any area, you want a great business, it all starts with TSRW. It's that, it's love, period.
And to piggyback on what we've been this vein that we're going on, there is a challenge of self-growth, committed self-growth in asking the question, what would love do? Because what it piggybacks on is requiring you to ask self in radical responsibility for everything that happens around me, to me, for me, and because of me, what part did I play? Maybe not what part did I physically act to invite it, but what part within me is vibrating the allowing even of it? So yes, there is chaos that happens, random incidents and so forth, and yet there is a gift that we can unwrap inside of all of it. I remember when my child was tiny and I was married 22 years and I was an 11-year process to try to save the marriage. And there was a moment that I was trying to avoid for all that time, which was my holding my son in my arms. At that point, he was 4 or 5 years old, 5 years old. And he was crying and desperately saying, "Mom, don't do this." Oh, at this point, by the way, I'd been seeing a neurologist for a year. My body was completely numb. They couldn't figure out why I was having the sporadic numbness. They're about to send me to the Mayo Clinic. It was my body was going to check out if I didn't. It got to that point. And after holding him for 3 hours, I said, Zayden is my son's name. I said, Zayden, Mom can't promise that everything in life is going to go the way you have hoped. But what I can say is there is a power. And the power lives inside of you and inside of your heart. And that power is you will always be able to seek the gift inside of the good, the bad, the ugly, and the stuff in between. And so, honey, and for him, he was tiny, right? And I said, honey, there's something in your hand right here. And you don't always have to use it at the moment when bad things happen, but the power always lives right here. And we can seek the treasure. We can look for treasures, the gift. And I called it treasure with him, treasure hunting inside of the challenging and bad things that happen. And so your job, the gift that God gives you, whatever you want to call it, divine spirit, infinite intelligence, the universe is challenging us to find the gift to leverage those intense moments. And so maybe it's not today, maybe it's years from now, but let's look for the treasures along the way. And that's viable for all of us. What is the gift that I have been asked to find from these intense moments that are coming to me? And that is also radical responsibility. So I asked myself when this thing just happened, so what within me is still vibrating an invitation, and where within me is still asking to be elevated?
So, Roy, I have a quick question. I'm still moved by what you shared and what Nikki tagged onto that. And I want to go there for just 1 second because I feel this is where everybody in our world is living right now on the edge of this. It's a constant, you've been in those moments, whether it's a intense basketball game or a sporting event, and you're watching and it's the break point. If they score here, it's over. And I feel like we're living at that level of intensity in our world. So you're in that moment, whatever happened, you feel the rage, the vibration in your body. We all know that feeling. Your brain's going faster than you can even imagine, and all these things are happening. Walk me through the actual tactical things that you did in that moment that saved what could have been a disastrous Christmas for everyone, including yourself and your kid and all the things. What were the tactical steps that you took?
First, thank you for asking that. First thing is honestly, I was spiraling in my mind and I was in rage. And I did have visions of going and slapping and choking and punching this person, this man. And I knew that if I stepped out of that room, uh, nothing productive was going to happen because it was coming from a place of blind rage and also with no reflection first. Although I had nothing to do with that specifically, just like we can have nothing to do with that specifically. So, first of all, I honored the rage inside of me. Number one, I did not discount it, I did not make it smaller. I just allowed it to be there, and then I went to tools that I knew. So I knew that it had to be dissipated from my physical body. My physical body needed to make some sound, which I made into the pillow because sound is a very palatable dissipation. We are the humans and zoo animals are the only species that actually do not naturally dissipate intense things that happen to it. There is actually something you can look up called, you can Google polar bear shaking, I think is the way you can Google it, and we can put it in the notes. And it shows how nature discharges the emotion from the body. So this has been lost along the way by formulating ourselves societally appropriately. So sound is a discharge, shaking is a discharge. So I forced my body to allow it to shake the arms and the hand and the legs to discharge that energy, because if you do not discharge the rage or the sadness from the physical body through movement and sound, it will turn into disease or dysfunction, which is the things I work deeply with human beings now today, because it is deposit somewhere in the body. And we can go into that in different episodes. So first I shook it, I let it out through the noise, and then I let that happen honestly for a few hours. Not the shaking completely the whole time. Some of it was pacing, some of it was breath, did some heavy active breathing with some moaning because there was also a lot of grief there. So I moved in the grief. And then honestly, I went to chat and I talked to chat because there was nobody in the middle of the night to talk to but me and AI. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now. And I know it's not to go into that space. And this is what happened. And it was really just for me to have a conversation that gave me some validation. So if you have a friend that comes to you in rage, or you come to someone in rage or grief, you can predispose them for what you need. And that is going to your partner, your best friend, someone, and saying, hey, right in this moment, I need to just release. I need validation. I need you to just hear me. And I know that there's no action point that's going to be right at this moment. But I have got to release this intensity inside of me. And thank you for being that space for me right now. And then all that person's job is to do is listen. I can see how you would feel that way. I'm validating that there is reason for this kind of intensity. That's number one. Number two, I made a decision. Decision two, come power in the pause, Roya. There is nothing that is going to come good from you dissipating this tonight or tomorrow. This moment in time is to create happiness and memories. And so just be present to that moment. And it was actually easy for me to be present the next morning after I discharged. So I was present. We had a lot of fun. There were a couple times in my mind, I was like, oh, nope, not the time to bring it up. And we had a really nice day. So I put pause. The next day, my brother and sister-in-law called and I F-bombed it a little bit. And they just allowed me to listen, allowed me to let go. And I said, I know that I've just got to let it out a little bit. Thank you guys for being a real ear. And then when all that kind of dissipated, then you can feel your body calm down. So the next thing, you guys, you cannot get rational thought when your body is in hypervigilance because you're at fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And so most of us make reactionary decisions in those times of crisis when our body's in the amygdala. So I'm going to tell you what happens biologically is I knew that I was in the survival amygdala brain. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Fawn is please. And that takes me out of my prefrontal cortex, the ability to think rationally. So first, though, the survival mechanism is going to trump your prefrontal cortex until you honor that I'm no longer now in survival. So you have to get completely out of survival. Now what I can do is access my breath again. My breath can actually now oxygenate the brain, the prefrontal cortex, once the body feels safe that it's not being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. This is biology. This is survival. So we cannot collapse that time. We have to honor it. The final stage then was that I could think, and I went into a vagus nerve breathing, which is a ujjayi breath, which is a light snore breath in and out to oxygenate and calm my vagus nerve. Okay, I'm in complete calm. And then the last thing I did before thinking is we usually are not breathing deeply enough to get enough oxygen past survival. So I did an active breath, which is pumping your arms up and down vigorously to create heartbeat, or you can do a light run if you want, or jumping jack, something to oxygenate. And once I did that, I sat down and I closed my eyes and I thought, what is the main objective here? What is my ultimate goal in this moment? What parts can I control and what are not in my control? What parts can I invite and what do I have to let go for right now? And so after I went into that baseline understanding from oxygenation and closed eyes, then I made a list and I had 6 bullet points I wrote out for the conversation. And the reason I wrote it is because I knew once I went into the active conversation, there could be natural triggers that could take me off course from the baseline desired outcome, which would be for the highest and greatest good of all in that moment. And what's the highest and greatest good? The highest and greatest good is that he and I have a good relationship. He and I and his new partner have a good relationship because that benefits the foundation of our children, and that our daughter has a great landing point to build off of this to heal with her father. And the best way we could do that is if he and I are in some kind of united front. So then I had to table judgment on certain things I could have judged, and it came with more curiosity. So I waited to have that conversation for days out and I scheduled the time and I had my notes in front of me, to be honest with you. So in moments that it started to go off course, I could breathe in and say, I know this is valuable, what you're bringing up right now. Let's table that so we can stay on course with where we need to be in this moment, because that was where I was settled to show up at my highest and best self to get the outcome. So I hope that answers your question. That was the trail that was followed. And with great elation, the outcome was as beautiful as you could hope. And afterwards, he became more transparent in his message to me of his inner pain and thought instead of the defense. And the reason that he wasn't coming to me also was because he was holding his own self-shame and self-blame. And when people do that and they don't trust you to hold their heart, they are going to come with anger and defense of themselves. So to get past the wall, anger is usually first. To the softness that someone is trying to protect of their own shame and self-blame, it's tucked underneath. They might not even be able to feel because they're in survival. Opening space for security, that I get to be not perfect, I get to be messy, and I get to be flawed, and you're still not, and you're going to not punch me for it. um, opened us for more transparent conversation now and in the future.
I have a loud message coming through to my dear coach that's helping me to just you've got this gift of your hearing things and just don't let these other things interrupt and put yourself in a safe space to hear them or whatever. So I feel like, Roya, you know what I'm saying right now, whether anybody else does. And here's the message. Well done, good and faithful servant. So, you know, as you look at teachers in your life, we all can reflect back on teachers and we get to be a teacher ourselves. And the greatest teachers that you will ever have model the way. And choosing love can happen even in a rage-filled moment. And we just watched someone who has spent years and coaches this and reads the books and all the things, right? And we saw that she struggled and struggles through it, but it was this intentional application of everything that she has learned so far. And I always like to say this, I'm going to take everything I've learned so far and apply it to be my best self now. And that won't be, I said that when David and I got married, I'm on my third marriage, and man, with all the background that I have with shame and Catholicism and all the things, it was so all I knew what to do for anybody else that I felt like I needed to, I don't know, prove to was all I know to do is what I know now. Like, I'm going to take everything I learned and I might mess it up again, but the scariest thing would be to get divorced again. And thank God that I don't even see that in my path. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's something in the number 3. But, and all of that to say, what would love do? And I just want to share a message from our dear friend Amy Woodall that was
Oh my
coming
gosh,
to
I
me
was
during
just thinking the same thing.
oh gosh, if it's the same message, I'm gonna lose it.
Are you reading what she put in the huddle?
No, no. No, I'm just coming from but feel free to share that in a minute. I am coming from a teaching that she shared with me is to remember that from the day you're born until the day you die, you're the only one with you. It's just you. And so all of these things that we have outside of us that then creep in so that we shake ourselves to not be core values aligned to who we are. We're all we have to answer to, that and our God. But then we let all these external things and they get us angry and blah, blah, blah. But when you show up from your core values and your alignment and who you are and who you feel proud of, you're able to then walk through a very tough situation like Roya did there. And man, it's not easy. I feel like I'm saying it. It's like one thing to say it, but to really be able to, you know, then walk it out when a hard thing happens. But I want to tie it into something that I feel like there's so many people, aside from what we said about the struggling with the hate and all that. I am convinced that depression and anxiety, those things that are so prevalent right now, it comes from this same place of we're not coming from who we truly are. No one was born to not live in love, right? It's the only just what Roya said in the beginning, right? And so when we lose ourselves, because we feel righteous to go after that person, I am that person. So I'm like, I have struggled so much with this because I'm like, oh no, we are gonna get even. And I'm like, they need to be taught a lesson. And I'm rising above that to understand that all that did for me was cause me these icky outcomes and take away from my ability to go do great experiences with others because I let that take over. And that, when we don't, is the radical responsibility to love. Roya, I'd love for you to close us out and wrap up the episode today.
This is a collection of brilliance. And one of the women that you introduced me to is Amy Woodall, that you already shared. So I'd love to give a shout out to channeling from Source, a download that she received that she shared in our Seekers Huddle the other day that has everything to do with what we talked about. And this is what she received. To love yourself is to love me, Source. To love yourself is to love others. To love yourself is the divine remembering. When you connect with your light, the whole world becomes brighter. Sitting in deep devotion of your unique frequency encourages others to resonate more deeply with their own. This authentic power is the fuel for love. When we lose touch with this deep resonance, our love becomes conditioned, subjugated, withheld. We deem some as worthy of it and others not. Of course, the only thing we've truly deemed unworthy is ourselves. We cannot fully know our own divinity while debating others. This is the work of your life, to love and embrace you. Not partly, not when you look or act the right way, and especially not when they see it, reflect it, acknowledge it. Make this your daily bread to have, to hold, to embrace, to welcome, to remember, to relish, to vibrate, to burst with love.
So, you just listened to this episode. Now, join us in being addicted to betterment. Please subscribe to the show, share with your friends, tag us, and please take a moment, leave a review. Yeah, we do want your stars, but we really want the feedback.